Hi everybody, thank you for joining me for today's yoga. Today's focus is going to be on the hips. This is a practice for all levels, but there will be a couple of hip opening poses that are for more intermediate levels, so just take it easy. If anyone's working with any knee or hip injuries, just be mindful this might not be a practice that feels good for you, but have props available, like maybe a block, that can help ease the pressure off the knees in some of the poses that we're going to do later. We're going to start today in Supta Baddha Konasana, so reclined bound angle pose. So coming down onto our backs and bringing our soles of the feet together and letting our knees fall out wide. If this is too uncomfortable for anybody, you can always bring your knees together and have your feet mat width distance apart. You can rest your hands on your belly, and we'll just take 10 centering breaths together, helping us to quiet the mind, helping us to be present in the moment, helping us to bring the focus inwards. Taking this time to notice how you're feeling, how the hips are feeling. Starting to take our inhales and exhales through the nose. Feeling the belly rise underneath the hands as we inhale. And as we exhale, feel that belly dropped back down towards the spine. Out of this pose, we're going to bring our hands to the outside of the thighs and gently drawing our knees back in towards each other. And then keeping a bend in this left knee with the sole of the foot on the mat, we're going to bring our right knee in towards the chest, holding onto the knee with both hands to draw it in a little closer. Maybe you can bring it to the outside of the chest and down towards the mat beside you. And then you might like to take happy baby, so you can bring your right sole of the foot up towards the ceiling, holding onto the outside of the foot with the right hand, with your right arm to the inside of the right leg, opening up into that hip a little deeper. You can always use a counterweight with this left leg and let this left knee fall out to the left. Releasing this right leg, bending the knee, sole of the foot on the mat. This time bringing the left knee in towards the chest, holding onto the knee with both hands, drawing it in a little closer. Maybe bringing it to the outside of the chest. And then you might like to take half happy baby. So you take the left sole of the foot up towards the ceiling, hold onto the outside of the foot with the left hand, with the arm to the inside of the leg. Maybe using that right knee as a counterweight, letting it fall out to the right. And then we'll release from here. Bring both knees in towards the chest, wrap your arms around the shins, just rocking from side to side, massaging the lower back. And then from here we're going to make our way up to sitting. So you may want to roll to one side and use your hands to support you, or you could hold onto the backs of the thighs and rock yourself up to seated. From here we're going to come into cobbler's pose, Supta Baddha Konasana, but seated. So bringing the soles of the feet together again, letting the knees fall out wide. If it helps, you can always sit yourself on a block just elevating the hips will just help those knees fall out a little bit wider. An option here, you can just stay sitting upright, finding length in the spine and holding on to the toes, or you can take it into a bit of a fold, and you may be able to bring your fingertips in front of you, keeping length in the spine and just creeping those fingertips forward as you lower down over these legs, intensifying the stretch into the inner thighs. With every inhale we find length, with every exhale we release. And then walking our hands back in towards us as we lift the chest. We're going to bring our knees out in front of us with our feet on the mat. We're going to take seated pigeon. So we're going to bring our right ankle on top of the left knee. So you may need to lean back slightly to do this. And then if you want to intensify the stretch, you can bring your left knee a bit closer in towards you. Keep the chest lifted, find length in the spine, flex through this right foot if you have any issues with your knees. Feeling that opening into the right hip and right glute. And then releasing the right leg, we'll go on the opposite side. So bring the left knee on top of the right knee, and then maybe scooting it as far in as you start to feel the stretch into that left hip and glute, flexing through that left foot. If you've got any knee issues, find length in the spine, lift the chest. From here and find our first tabletop pose. Wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hip. Let's move through some cat cow. Inhale, drop the belly, tailbone lifts, chest comes forward, gaze is forward. Exhale to round and contract. Inhale, belly drops, tailbone lifts. Exhale as we round and contract. 2 more times, moving with the rhythm of your own breath. As you exhale, you might like to press through the palms of the hands, rounding through that upper back a bit more. And after your next exhale, coming into a neutral spine, we're going to bring our right foot in between the hands, making our way into our low lunge. So right knee is directly over the ankle, pad the back knee if you need to. On an inhale, lift the chest, reach the arms up overhead, square everything off to the front of the mat. Lift up out the waist, engage that core, tuck the pelvis under. From here we're going to take it into a side bend, so bringing our right hand onto our right hip. Inhale as we lift up out the waist, exhale, taking a side bend over to the right. Reaching through those left fingertips, opening up down the left side of the body. If you've got the space, you may be able to bring your right fingertips down onto the mat beside you. On an inhale, use the core, lift the chest, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, bring the hands down, frame this front foot, straightening into the right leg, coming up onto the heel, pulling those toes back towards you, coming into our half split. Lengthening down the back of the right leg. Keep a bend in that knee if you need to. On our next inhale, we're going to start to bend into this right knee. Walk those fingertips forward. We're going to use our back foot as a kickstand, so bring it behind you towards the long edge of the mat. Lift the chest. We're going to bring the back of our right hand against the inside of the right knee and sink the hips. release from here, and we'll come back into our tabletop pose, and we'll go on the left side. So this time bringing the left foot in between hands, left knee is directly over the ankle, pad the back of your knee. If you need to, inhale, lift the chest, reach the arms up overhead. Everything faces the top of the mat. Moving into that side stretch, bring the left hand onto the left hip, inhale, lift up out the waist, exhale, taking a side bend. Maybe bringing your left fingertips on down onto the mat beside you. Inhale to lift the chest, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, release the hands down, frame the front foot, straightening into the left leg, coming up onto the heel of the foot, pulling those toes back towards you. Lengthening down the back of the left leg. On our next inhale, we're going to start to bend into this left knee as we bring our fingertips forward, using our right foot as a kickstand, so bring it towards the long edge of the mat. Lifting the chest, bringing the back of the left hand to the inside of the left knee. Start to sink the hips, opening up to the inner left thigh. And then release from here back to our tabletop pose. Bringing our hands slightly in front of the shoulders, tucking the toes, making sure they are hip width distance apart. On our next exhale, send that tailbone high into our first downward facing dog. Taking any movement that feels good, so maybe pedaling out the feet, keeping a bend in the knees, looking for length in the spine here. Into some stillness with the legs, come up onto the balls of the feet, lift the heels, gaze towards the top of the mat, walking the feet up towards the hands, coming into our ragdoll fold, feet are about hip width distance apart, bending into the knees, holding on to opposite elbows, letting the crown of the head hang heavy, maybe swaying gently from side to side. Down to the mat, press through the heels, keep a slight bend in the knees. We're going to roll all the way up the spine, come into our Tadasana pose, our mountain pose. Lengthen that tailbone down, palms of the hands face forward, crown of the head is lifted. From here, we're going to bring our big toes together, have your heels slightly apart. We're going to bring our hands together at heart center, taking a bend into both knees. Sink the hips, release those fingertips down to the mat, keep the hips where they are, reach the arms up overhead, lift the chest, palms facing in towards each other, Utkatasana, our chair pose. Weight is in the heels. On our next inhale, straightening into both feet, bring the left knee in towards the chest, hold on to the knee with both hands. Root down through that standing leg. And then leave go with the right hand, bring it onto the right hip, keeping a hold of the left knee with the left hand. We're going to open that knee out to the left, opening up into the hip, working into a slight balance. Bringing that knee back through to center. We're going to release this left leg back, coming into our high lunge, dropping those toes back towards the back of the mat, bending into that front knee, reach those arms up overhead, square everything off to the front of the mat. Back leg leg doesn't need to be straight. You can have a slight bend in that knee if it's making you arch through your lower back. On our next exhale, we're going to release both hands down to the inside of the right foot, coming into active lizard, so keep that back knee lifted off the mat. Palms of the hands are on the mat. If you're really open, you may be able to come down onto your elbows and forearms, finding length in the spine, sink those hips. If you're on the elbows and forearms, come back onto the palms of the hands. We're going to bring our right hand to the outside of the right foot. We're going to shuffle the right foot over, coming into pigeon. So shuffling it all the way over to the left side of the mat as the right knee comes behind the right wrist. Taking the back leg back, coming down onto the top of the left foot. Staying in active pigeon, so keep the chest lifted, fingertips down on the mat. Sinking those hips, feeling that opening into the right hip and right glute. And then bringing our hands, palms of the hands down onto the mat. We're going to tuck the back toes, shuffle this back knee in enough that we can take the right leg back, so we're in our high plank. We will move through a vinyasa. Exhale to bend at the elbows, lower all the way down. Inhale into cobra, lift the chest. Exhale into lower, making our way into downward facing dog. On our next inhale, come up onto the balls of the feet, bend the knees. You can hop or step up to the hands. Finding length in the spine here, half lift. Exhaling into our forward fold. Inhale, circle those arms up towards the ceiling, palms be overhead. Exhale, bring those hands down through to heart center. So coming into chair pose again, big toes together, heels slightly apart. Bend into the knees, sink the hips. Lower the fingertips down, keep those hips where they are. Reach the hands up overhead, lift the chest. Lengthen that tailbone down, don't arch through the lower back. Press down through those heels of the feet enough that you might be able to lift all 10 toes off the mat. On our next inhale, straighten the legs, come to stand, bring the right knee in towards the chest. Root down through that standing leg, hold on to the right knee with both hands. Leave and go with the left hand, bring the left hand onto the left hip, holding onto the knee with the right hand. We're going to bring our right knee out to the right, opening up into the hip. Engage in that right glute to open that knee out a little bit wider. And then bringing this knee back through to center. We'll send the right leg behind us, coming into our high lunge, reaching the arms up overhead. On our next exhale, lower both hands down to the inside of the left foot, coming into our active lizard. Keep that back knee lifted. Stay in on the palms of the hands, or you can come down onto the elbows and forearms. If you're down on your forearms, coming back onto the palms of the hands, bring the left hand to the outside of the left foot, making our way into pigeon, so shuffle this left foot all the way over to the right side of the mat. Bring the left knee behind the left wrist, sink those hips, come down onto the top of the right foot. Staying in active pigeon, coming up onto tented fingertips. Feel that nice opening into the left hip, left glute. Bring the palms of the hands onto the mat, tuck the back toes, shuffle that back knee in slightly. We're going to bring the left foot back, so we're in our high plank pose. Move through a vinyasa, exhale into lower. Inhale into cobra. Exhale, coming into our downward facing dog. On our next inhale, making our way to the top of the mat. Find length in the spine, half lift, flat back. Exhale in as we fold. Inhale, circle those arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. Exhale, bring those hands down through to heart center. So we're going to step, I'm going to step my left foot back so I'm facing the long edge of the mat. You step whatever foot back so you're facing me. We're going to start off with goddess pose. So we're going to bring the heels in, the toes out, sink those hips. Bring the hands onto the thighs with our fingertips facing to the inside of the thighs. We're going to dip the shoulders. So on an exhale, we're going to bring our right shoulder down to center, gazing over the left shoulder. Inhale back through to center. Exhale, drop the left shoulder down, gaze over the right. Inhale back through to center. Exhale, drop the right shoulder down. Inhale back through to center, exhale, drop the left shoulder down. Inhale back through to center, squeeze those glutes to open up those hips. On our next inhale, straightening into the legs, we're going to heel toe our feet in slightly and coming into our malasana, bringing our palms together at heart center. We're going to start to sink the hips. You may come down this far. If you want to sink a little bit lower, bringing those hips down, bringing our elbows to the inside of the knees. Don't worry if your heels are lifted, always an option to sit on a block too. Find length in the spine, chest should be lifted. You're going to always bring your fingertips down onto the mat to help support you in this pose too. Exhale, bring the fingertips down, start to straighten into the legs, heel toe the feet in, so they are about hip width distance apart, coming into a forward fold. On our next inhale, find length in the spine, half lift, flat back. Exhale into fold. On our next inhale, circle those arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. Exhale, hands down through to heart center. So stepping those feet out wide a second time. Heels in, toes out, sink the hips. We're coming back into our goddess, our temple pose. Maybe trying to get those thighs parallel with the mat. And then bringing our right forearm onto the right thigh. Reach the left arm up and over, taking a side stretch. Inhaling back through to center, left forearm onto the left thigh, right arm reaches up and over, side stretch. Inhale back through to center, come into cactus arms, bringing those shoulder blades together, drawing those elbows back behind you, opening up into the chest. On our next inhale, straightening into the legs, hands onto the hips, heel toe those feet in, and then once again coming into our yogi squat, toes out, heels in, palms together at heart center. Start to sink the hips. Noticing if you can come a little bit lower, second time. Elbows to the inside of the knees, sink those hips. Palms together at heart center. Staying broad across the chest. flexing those fingertips down, straightening into the legs, heel toe those feet in, coming into a forward fold. And then coming into a half lift, flat back. Exhaling as we lower. And then circle those arms up towards the ceiling, palms meet overhead. Exhale, hands down through to heart center. We will step to the top of the mat and we will make our way into down dog. Circle those arms up. Exhale, hands come out wide, dive down over the body, bend the knees slightly, plant the palms, step back, down dog. From here, we're going to lower the knees down onto the mat, so we're in our tabletop pose. And then from here, coming into a puppy stretch, so walking our hands forward, bringing our chest down towards the mat, make sure the hips are staying over the knees. Maybe your forehead comes onto the mat. Maybe if it feels okay in the neck, your chin does. Feel that nice opening into the upper back, into the shoulders, across the chest. And then start to walk our fingertips back towards us as we lift the chest. Down to sitting on the heels. We'll bring our feet off to one side and we will make our way into our double pigeon, our square pose. So I'm turning to face you so you can see what I'm doing. This is a really tough pose, so be careful. So if you prefer, you could just sit cross-legged or come back into cobbler's fold, butterfly fold, and Baddha Konasana, bringing your soles of the feet together and letting the knees fall out wide. So if you are doing double pigeon, we are bringing our left leg down first of all. We're flexing through this left foot and our shin is parallel, either depending where you're sitting, the long edge of the mat or the top of the mat. We're going to bring our right knee on top of the left ankle and then bring our right ankle on top of the left knee. So you may not be able to get your knees stacking right on top of each other. You may have a bit of a gap, and that's fine. If you've got a blanket or something soft that you can wedge between the gap, that's fine too. And it's a real deep hip opener, so you may prefer to just keep the chest lifted and stay here. If you would like to intensify the stretch, you can walk your fingertips forward until you start to feel that stretch a little bit deeper into the hips. You'll probably feel it more in the right hip, but you will also feel it in the left. Gently release from here, so walking our fingertips back in towards us and then gently maybe lean backwards so that you can release the feet. Bring the soles of the feet on the mat, the bend to the knees, and we're just going to take the knees from side to side to release the hips. And we will do that on the opposite side. So if you're skipping it, just come back into a seated cross-legged position or your butterfly cobbler's fold. So this time the right shin is going to be on the bottom and flexing through that right foot. We're going to bring the left knee on top of the right ankle as the left ankle comes on top of the right knee. Don't worry if there's a gap, one hip might be tighter than the other. My left side is much more tighter here, so I'm not going to fold. For this second one, I'm going to keep my chest lifted. If you would like to fold and intensify the stretch, just walk your fingertips forward until you feel enough of a stretch and just stay there. If there's any pain in the hips or knees, back out of it. While folding down, walk your fingertips back in towards you, gently lifting the chest and then leaning back so that you can release the legs. We'll do the same thing again, bring the soles of the feet on the floor, bending into the knees, take the knees from side to side, release those hips. And then we will start to make our way down onto our backs. So bringing the soles, the feet on the mat, bend into the knees, arms out long, slowly with control, we're going to roll all the way down the spine until we bring our shoulders and back of the head down on the mat. And then from here, bringing the left leg out long, bring the right knee in towards the chest, hold onto the knee with both hands. Option to stay here, you could take it into a crunch, so you could bring your nose and forehead up towards the knee, hold it here, engaging that core. Exhaling to release the head and shoulders back down. Take a bend into the left knee, bring the left sole of the foot on the mat. We'll take reclined pigeon, so bring the right knee on top of the left knee. Bring the left thigh in towards the chest, hold on to the back of the thigh with both hands. Flex through that right foot if you've got any knee issues. And draw that knee a bit closer in towards the chest. Option to take the crunch, so you can bring your forehead and nose up towards that knee, hold it here. And exhaling to release the head and shoulders back down. Take a bend into the right knee, sole of the foot on the mat. Bring the left ankle on top of the right knee, flex into that foot to protect the left knee. Bring the right thigh in towards the chest, interlace the fingers behind that thigh. Stretch into the left hip and left glute. And then releasing both legs. Bring the knees in towards the chest. Bring the arms out of shoulder height, cactus the arms if you don't have the room. On an exhale, we're going to send our knees down to the left as our gaze comes over to the right. We're keeping that right shoulder down. Engaging that core, bring those knees back through to center. On an exhale, send the knees down to the right. Gaze can come over to the left. Keep that left shoulder down. Bringing our knees back through to center. Bringing our arms around the shins. Gently rock from side to side, massaging that lower back into the mat. And then holding on to the backs of the thighs with the hands, we're going to rock ourselves up to seated, or you can roll to one side and use your hands to support you into a seated position. And then come into cross-legged, bringing your hands wherever is comfortable, so on the knees or in the lap. Let those shoulders drop down away from the ears. And just taking a moment here to notice how you're feeling, how the hips are feeling. We'll take 2 cleansing breaths together, so on an inhale, through the nose. On an exhale, we're going to sigh it out of the mouth. One more time, inhaling through the nose. On an exhale, sigh it out of the mouth. And then bringing our hands into prayer position at heart center. Give yourselves a thank you for making time to get on the mat today, and thank you very much for joining me. Have a lovely day. I will see you next time. Goodbye.